Hey everybody, it's Mike. Welcome to another issue of my vlog. We're here at the world headquarters of Newmark Knight Frank, who's hosting us today. It's extraordinary offices, and we're very appreciative of all their support in the commercial real estate tech sector. So, when I got into the space around 2011 and 2012, it's literally a handful of startups, about 30 million invested in the space around that time. Fast forward today, we're projecting about 6 billion invested in CRE tech in the US this year, and give or take about 3,000 startups. So the growth's been extraordinary. One of the challenges, I think, though, in the sector is that there are so many startups, there's so much innovation taking place. It's challenging for a lot of people to keep up with all the innovation that's happening. So at CRE Tech, our mission is to help everybody discover the great innovation, the great progress that's being made, connect the technology and the commercial real estate sector. So in this episode of my vlog, I wanted to shed light on 4 startups that have really gotten my attention, that I think are doing really innovative things in the space. So I wanted to introduce them to our audience at CRE Tech, talk a little bit about why they got in the space now, what they're doing that's so innovative, and what their perspectives are on the industry. So it's my pleasure to introduce LD from Cherry, Jan from Biproxy, Rob from Lyra Intel, and Guy from Skyline AI. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for spending some time. So, LD, let's start with you. So, give us a little bit short intro in terms of you and your background.
Yeah, definitely. So, I'm originally from the States, but really grew up in Israel. So, I went to school in Israel, started my first company there when we were 14, with today my same co-founder. Army in Israel, went to school in Israel afterwards, started another company that we had spun off in London, came back here, started another company that we sold to Oppenheimer, and then recently, last couple of years, started Cherry, which is a data fusion platform for the real estate, so helping banks, insurance companies, large organizations manage data collection and processing. Been having a lot of fun these last few years so far. We'll see how that keeps going. Yeah.
Jan, tell us where you came from and what you're doing now.
Thanks, Mark. Recently was head of broker channel development at a company called 10X, formerly Auction.com. My partners and I came together from that company. We were the executive team there, and just we think there's a need out there for the marketplace, particularly in the middle market, for a technology that helps them trade. And so we've banded together, eclectic group of folks, really with trading, acquisitions, dispositions backgrounds. We were formerly also at private equity firms and banks. So we really saw a need and opportunity in the market to really help the middle market trade assets.
Great. Rob?
Hi, thanks for having me here. I started out in real estate. I'm a real estate guy. Has had every job in real estate, from management to construction. But as much as I wanted to stay in real estate, I also enjoy technology and providing services to commercial real estate firms. My first company that I started was Defease with Ease, or Commercial Defeasance. Was very fortunate, sold that to Summit Partners. Started my second company, which was in the asset management space, in the affordable housing side. Ended selling that to Summit as well. And then went into a joint venture and started a bunch of companies, primarily focused on CRE tech. Started a company called Investor Management Services that helps commercial real estate firms manage their investors. Most recently, my latest venture, which is Lyra, which is all about monetizing residents at apartment communities.
Guy?
Sure, so thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
So I'm coming from technology background. I was programming from the age of 13. I was an engineer in the Israel Defense Forces. Did some technology roles and had some startups together with my co-founders. We are 4 co-founders working together for many years. So we did big data and AI for many years in different industries, and now we're trying to bring this to real estate. My co-founder and the CTO is always saying that we did AI much before it was cool. So now we're trying to bring this into real estate. And at Skyline AI, we use artificial intelligence to source for real estate investment opportunities and make better real estate investment decisions. That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that's most interesting to me, having been in this for a while, is sort of the cycle that we're in now. And the reason why I got all you four together today was because you're all, as I said earlier, sort of new entries in this phase. Now, Jan, you've been in it for a while. You've been in CRE Tech for a while. You had great success at 10X, and now you're building by proxy. So maybe the way we start the conversation is, why now? You know, why is the time right for by proxy right now? And why launch something new when there's so much, not competition, but there's so much out there in terms of CRE Tech?
Sure. I think there's, three logical reasons why now. One is everything's changing, right? I mean, you know, books like The Third Wave and stuff like that, you know, you have this transition on the internet that people are moving from it being just simply something to browse on to actually buy stuff on. And, you know, people are buying not just small things, they're buying large things, airplane engines, airplanes, boats. Why not real estate, right? I mean, that. Two is our industry hasn't evolved. It really has been dormant through this transition. And I know, I grew up in the Bay Area. I was part of the various tech booms in the Bay Area, and real estate didn't really participate with that. And lastly, I think some of these technologies today are just, I mean, like these gentlemen here are incredible, where they could use data, formulate data. And at the end of the day, you know, I think why you know, the solutions are coming to bear today is data is free, right? That's a big difference today. It's what you do with that data, how you use that data, and I think that's why now.
LD, what are your thoughts
Yeah,
on
no,
that?
definitely. I think that some data is free. CoStar is still really expensive, right? Clearly bought LoopNet somewhere along the way.
Maybe
right?
the phrasing is data will be free, right?
Well, we'll see. I don't know. It seems that people still think that's the advantage, but I think what happened or is happening right now is, you know, real estate has always been a relationship-driven business, right? So, especially in the investment space, right? You have people that, you know, tell them you're going to find a deal and they'll be very skeptical. They'll tell you, what do you mean deal? I know everyone in the city. I know every person here. You know, you're not going to find an opportunity. Then you say, well, what if you looked at this? Oh, and they get a little skeptical, right? I think we're in that process where that world is starting to die out. We've come to the point where the relationship-driven aspect of the business needs to be augmented by humans, by technology. And we saw this happen in other industries, right? We saw public equities go through that process, 80s, 90s, and eventually early 2000s, to the point today where the notion of somebody trading stocks at home and beating the market is just unfathomable, right? Then we started doing it in private equity. We did it in the later stage private equity. Other companies were doing it in early stage private equity and still happening today in early venture. Chris Farmer and his guys, right? I mean, people are really doing that in the early stage. And then you look at real estate and you realize that it's still very much a 100% human-driven business and pen and paper. And all you have to do is just a little extra to give them just something to better augment that decision-making process. And beating benchmarks, right, becomes all of a sudden a really easy task to do, right? So data is really becoming king.
Rob, from your perspective, same kind of question. Like you've had multiple successes in technology and real estate. Why Lyra now? You know, what did you see as an opportunity?
Oh, because I think it comes down to it's an implementation issue that we have in this market. It's not, this technology has been around. I mean, 5 years ago we were talking about data lakes and data warehouses and things like that, but nobody could absorb it unless you're at the very, very high echelon of users. So sure, your equity residential, your big power users would. I typically go in the lower end of the market. I like to go where most of the operators are, the ones that have 10 to 20 properties. And I think what we try to do, and the reason why I started Lyra now, is because for my past life, the consumer is only going to take so much, something that they can understand and they can implement and they can see results. And Lyra is all about generating revenue for a property. So Lyra is an app that, when it basically provides goods and services to residents at a property, when they buy those things, they get money, and the property gets money. That all of a sudden drives NOI, and so when you have a portfolio and you can't just raise rents because your markets are flat, where else can you go? And that's what started it.
Got it. Guy, from your perspective, you know, you and your co-founder and the team that you've assembled, you guys could have gone into any industry, right? I mean, you probably had multiple options of what you were looking at. So why did you pick commercial real estate? And I bet you're asking yourself that some days, like, but really, why?
Yeah, so we find real estate very exciting. I mean, when we did, as I mentioned at the beginning, we did AI for, we did it in healthcare and later in video streaming industry, and this is a completely different industry. But after we sold the last two companies, we started to invest, and then we invested in real estate. And we saw how in terms of technology, how back this industry is. So we started to do something that we thought that will make our investment better. But we thought at the beginning that this is a personal problem. And then we went to hear a talk. It was a commercial real estate venture, not venture, sorry. Oh. Went to hear a talk. It was a commercial real estate event. And there was someone from the large institution. He spoke about the analysis process in the institution. And when he finished, he opened for questions. I raised my hand and I asked if they're using technology in the underwriting process, in the sourcing process, and what kind of technology. So he thought for a few seconds, and then he said, "What do you mean if we use technology in the process?" Of course we use technology. We use tremendous amount of technology. First, we all use computers, and all the analysis is done with Excel files. So I think at this moment we understood that, and there are much more than that, of course, but at this moment we understood that this is not just our own problem, this is something that should be solved and changed. And I agree with my friends, everything that you said about the timing, and I think in our specific business at Skyline AI, one more thing is that real estate investors in the last 10 years or 12 years already, in order to make a good yield, all you needed to do is to invest. And most of the people who did very good in the last 12 years will say that the next 12 years will look different. So I think that this is the timing when you really need an advantage. And this is what we're trying to create.
Got it, got it. Let's talk a little bit about how your sites actually work, right? Because I think that's really important, is that it's not just the idea, but it's what's behind it. So Rob, how does the actual site work?
So we have basically three offerings. And so our primary focus is multifamily space, but we also are in office. But basically what we provide is three solutions. One is for on-site property managers, and that's their engagement toolkit. So it's a CRM, it's where they can create events, it's where they can track the behaviors and actions of what the residents are doing. Do they have dogs? Are they going to the dog park? Are they going to the gym? Are they doing the things that we want to know at a property? The second is an app that the residents use, and the app is called Caboodle. And basically the Caboodle app is not only the way that they communicate with the property, they can pay rent, they can pick up packages, they can do all that stuff, but the app is much more centered around community, not just property. And I think one of the things that we've realized that, and there was a recent study done by Reputation.com where they were saying, what kind of amenities do the new tenants want, the new residents want? And it wasn't the new rock climbing gym. It wasn't the beer garden. They want fast and easy and friendly communication, and they want a sense of community. And so our app basically goes out and it goes and provides events and things that are going on, not just in the property, but in the entire community. And we put all of the actions and the behaviors of what the property manager is doing with what the resident is doing, and we put it and we assemble it into a BI tool. And so a BI tool is where the asset managers and the marketing managers and even the property managers can see what's going on, and are the actions and the events that they're doing, are they driving better engagement at a property? Are they driving, and because better engagement for us means more monetization and less or more retention.
I didn't realize beer garden was an option as an amenity.
Oh, absolutely.
That's an option.
Absolutely.
I'm going to bring that up on our next board meeting.
Jan, sort of same question. So how does by proxy work, and who's the market?
So the market is really, the U.S. trading environment is roughly 700 billion in the U.S. That's about how much in assets, and that's duplex, triplex, and above. Our three customers, pretty simple. It's a broker, it's a principal, it's a tenant, right? You come to our site, you're one of those. If you're a broker has four functions, right? He wants to buy property on behalf of a client. He wants to sell property on behalf of a client. He wants to lease a building on behalf of a client, or he wants to find space on behalf of a tenant. If you're a principal, you want to do three things. You want to buy, sell, or you want to lease space. And then if you're a tenant, you want to do one thing, you want to find space. So you come to our site, you categorize yourself correctly, and then we give you a multitude of tools based on that. We have a free MLS. So we have in excess of 70,000 listings on the MLS at this point. You have a free contact management system. You have a free ability to email, message. You have to organize all your contacts. And then the last part of it is if you need help selling a property, buying a property, leasing a space, we have help for you. And we have help for you in a manner that the way the industry works. The industry works on an a la carte basis. When someone needs it, they buy it. It's not a subscription-based environment. And then we also can help you run a process for selling an asset, buying an asset, all those things are taken care of.
Great, great. LD,
yeah,
how does it work?
Now I have the fun task of making back-end data sound sexy. Yeah. So our clients are connecting thousands of data feeds, some of them in real time, and the big challenge that they're trying to solve is, instead of going to build these ETL processes on their own, building resolution engines, which is typically a very manual process of mapping schemas, and then building APIs on top of it, our platform does that for them. So they connect those data streams, 1, 2, typically somewhere in the low thousands, then take all of our data, which is another 10,000 data streams, connect all those data sets together. It identifies what cardinal object things we call them cardinal objects, a building, a lot, a unit, these types of data objects to which we're going to later attach data. And then our platform maps all of these different data sets, the fields get mapped both to these cardinal objects and to the actual schema object it's going to sit inside that. And then finally it does a lot of data resolution, conflicts and things like that, and eventually generates an API. And most of our clients will consume that API as a back-end product to power whatever their front end is, or a lot of data science platforms will take it as is, either as a dump or the entire API.
And who's a client? Give me an example.
Banks, insurance company, largest P&C insurance company in the world, some of the large MLSs, including Real Estate Board of New York. Most of our clients like to stay confidential, but some are now public, so Hudson Gateway and Stratus and iLookabout and Keller Williams, Rebney, folks like that.
Which are the ones that want to stay private?
Yeah, so all the banks, all the insurance companies, all the title companies, right? They tend to be very cautious, and it's funny, that process, working with them has been terrible, right? I mean, they're awesome clients, and they're really smart, and we love the way they use our data, but onboarding with them is just hell, right? So it's compliance, which takes 1 to 2 months, best case scenario, right?
Welcome, my friend. Welcome.
And then, ongoing compliance.
Welcome to our world.
It's been
Deal with the property manager.
It can't be worse than the banks.
It can be.
Try on-prem solutions. It gets really fun.
Guy, now you gotta dumb this down for me, okay? All right.
I'll try.
I'm the dumb fuck here, so you gotta. How does it work?
So today we're connected to more than 130 different data sources from different kinds, structured and unstructured, public and private. We have some proprietary data that we get through partnerships. Different kind of data, real estate related. Eventually we're trying to put our hands on every piece of information that might affect real estate values. Demographics, education, crime, restaurants in the areas, and so on and so forth. 130 different data sources. We combine all the data sources together. We started with multifamily asset class. Today we're monitoring more than 400,000 different properties, which is almost all the multifamily assets in the US that has more than 50 units. And for each property, we have like 10,000 different data points, going back in time up to 50 years, depending on the data source. So imagine like a huge data lake about multifamily. This is our ground truth of data. And then we have our AI teams that are responsible for extracting insights from the data and generating predictions. So we're trying to predict everything from what will be the asset value in the next few years, what will happen to the occupancy, to the rent, and so on. So looking from the market level to the submarket and the neighborhood and the asset. So we have a platform that eventually you put in an asset, for instance, and you get all the information you need to know about the asset, including our projections of what will happen to the asset. But regarding the clients, so we do not license the technology. We use the technology we keep the technology for ourselves, and we partner with large real estate investors, and we help them to deploy capital into
Right.
multifamily.
I think there's a case study or an example or something on your website that I was.
I don't remember the website. I'll check that later.
Well, I saw it deployed.
No, but
I mean,
yeah,
it was sort of a narrative of how it was actually used, or somebody was able to source a deal because they found some sort of arbitrage between
that's right.
value and what was.
That's right. So we recently, in June this year, we closed our first real estate transaction, and we bought a $26 million multifamily asset in Philadelphia. Like LD, we have partners that don't like publicity, so I can't I can't tell a lot about the specific transaction, but the idea is that we are able to find investment opportunities using the platform to predict when an asset is going to be marketed, and what the pricing we should pay at this time. And we partner with real estate investors, institutions, private equities, and so on, investment managers.
Start with multifamily specifically.
I think two main reasons. On the tech side, we find that there's much more data in this space, more transparency, which make it easier for us as something to start with. And on the investment side, our investors still have large appetite for multifamily investment. So this was the main reason, and we're now, we just completed round A, and it was announced recently. We raised $18 million. So now we expand it to other asset classes. Probably in the next 2-3 quarters, we'll start making transactions on other asset classes as well.